So if you're a guy who is, constantly sitting 60% spin efficiency, it's something that we should look at to try to maybe drive small velocity up. If you're somebody who's 90% spin efficiency, chances are that it's probably not affecting the velocity as much as we want to give it credit. Ready? Yep. Good?
Yep.
Fitz, what do we got today?
Got a question from @DavisStein10. Does high spin efficiency correlate to higher velocity?
Awesome. Yeah. So I got a PowerPoint on this one today, so we're going to kind of run through it. I got some good examples here for us. We're going to use Austin Adams as our example today. Good question from Davis here, and one that we'll kind of cover. So I think diving into it to begin with, the important thing to recognize is, we're talking about how we, deliver force to the baseball, right? So our mechanics, our arm slot is going to play a factor. Pressure, grip is all going to play a factor. Pinetar or non-Pinetar or whatever you're using, if you got rosin or whatever people are using today, placement of that's going to play a factor. So there's a lot of moving variables here. Spin axis on the pitch is going to ultimately play a factor. Total spin rate's going to play a factor. There's a lot of moving factors here. But I'm going to use Austin as an example today to talk about his fastball velocity versus slider velocity. So Austin's one of our guys here. Austin's in the big leagues with the Padres and got one of the more elite sliders in the league. Uses it up to over 70% of the time. He's kind of the inverse of a lot of what normal guys in the league are with a great fastball. Austin's got a great fastball, but he uses his slider majority of the time to get guys out. So let's dive into the PowerPoint real quick and I'll kind of explain it. So we have Austin here. Austin's throwing, first pitch you're going to see from Austin's a four-seamer. Now Austin's notorious for sitting between 70% and 90% spin efficiency. Most guys like peak spin efficiency for guys are that 100%, right? So what is spin efficiency is kind of the first thing we want to categorize, right? But when we look at a baseball, we look at an axis, right? So if I'm spinning this ball, it's going to come out of my hand, it's going to spin backward for a four-seamer, right? The axis is going to go as the line that goes right through the middle of the ball as it spins. If I throw this ball and that axis starts to turn to the direction of the pitch, so let's say I'm throwing this ball to the plate, the closer this axis gets to the direction of the pitch in terms of a direct line or running parallel, that is 0% spin efficiency. 100% spin efficiency is when I throw this line, when I throw this ball and the line is perpendicular to the direction of the pitch. Okay, so that's 100% spin efficiency. Austin's notorious for being 70% to 90% spin efficiency. And a lot of it has to do with the slot, how he rotates. He is slider heavy in his pitches, how much he throws it. So we look at Austin and we say, okay, Austin's a guy that will typically cut his fastball a little bit. Is it a bad thing? Is it not a bad thing? Is it limiting his velocity? Is it not limiting his velocity? That's the question, right? So when we look at Austin, Austin's going to release his pitch, and so these are some live at bats that we did over the winter. Austin's going to release his pitch here, and I would, I don't exactly have the metrics on this one specifically, but I would guess that's probably 70 to 80% spin efficiency on this one. But this pitch is still 95 miles an hour. So when we look at this, we have to realize that, okay, what's Austin's peak velocity? Austin in games is somewhere, peak velocity of around 97. And we kind of look at this when we establish, okay, he's throwing pretty hard. Could he throw 100? If his efficiency was better. Maybe not. We've seen Austin with higher spin efficiencies, but that didn't mean his velocity went up. So something to be noted. Now, the argument as to does spin efficiency actually increase ball velocity is the question. The argument saying that yes, spin efficiency does comes down to the scale of spin efficiency. So if I'm on the lower spectrum, so like a slider sits typically somewhere around 25% spin efficiency. Okay. So imagine trying to throw a slider that's moving a pretty good bit, okay, 25% spin efficiency. Imagine throwing that slider and trying to throw it 97 miles an hour. Why don't we see pitches like that in the big leagues? Why don't we see pitches like that at 97 miles an hour in the big leagues? It's because generally when a guy is throwing a slider and making it move that much, his fingers are getting to the side of the baseball. So that direct applied force is going to the side of the baseball, which is causing that axis to change, causing that spin efficiency to be lower, and that direct applied force is going to slow the baseball down. Versus my fingers stay behind that ball, I'm able to more directly apply force behind the ball in the direction of the pitch, then I'm going to see a lot higher velocity, right? So if we look at Austin here again on this PowerPoint, I'm going to drag him over to the slider. You're going to see his fingers come off the side of the ball. Austin will throw a slider that's 0% spin efficiency, so a gyro slider, all the way to 25% spin efficiency. Now, here's the key to that, though. Austin throws his slider 89 to 91 miles an hour, okay? So when we look at it in comparison, he's throwing 70% to 96% spin efficient fastballs, 94, 97. And he's throwing sliders 0 to 25% at 89, 91. So is there a huge difference between 89, 91 and 94, 97? Yes, there's a big difference there. But in the scale of, what does that mean for velocity? In Austin's case, this 91 mile an hour slider, which he throws quite often, more closely to 0% spin efficiency, or he picks up a couple of inches, so maybe he's 10% spin efficiency on that slider. That's kind of negating this idea that you really have to have 100% spin efficiency to always maximize your velocity. When we look at Austin's fastball, we can say 90% spin efficiency, 85% spin efficiency. He's probably still driving full velocity because his fingers are still behind the ball, even though he's cutting it a little bit. Could those pitches be a little harder? Maybe, but we see a lot of guys that in this case, that 90% spin efficiency is adequate to seeing peak velocity. So the answer in this case, we're going to say yes and no, right? So if you're a guy who is, constantly sitting 60% spin efficiency and you're seeing your velocity is lower, it's probably something that we should look at to try to maybe drive some ball velocity up. If you're somebody who's 90% spin efficiency and you're concerned that that's maybe causing velocity to go down or change or not be as consistent, okay, there's maybe some merit there, but we also have to recognize at the end of the day that, chances are that it's probably not affecting the velocity as much as we want to give it credit for. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So coming to full circle on this, to answer the question, is spin efficiency and velocity, do they have a correlation? My guess is if you put it on a chart and you look at all the fastballs in the league this year, you look at the highest thrown fastballs in terms of velocity, you probably have higher spin efficiencies correlated to higher ball velocity. I would guess yes. In terms of, is that 90%, 95% spin efficient fastball really limiting you from reaching your peak velocities? It might cause you a mile an hour difference. It may not. It just depends on kind of who you are, where you're at, and kind of the other aspects of that pitch. What type of, how do your fingers lay out, right? Like what stuff are you using on your hand if you're throwing? Like how do your mechanics work? Like what slot? So before you go diving into that to try to get the most out of your fastball velocity, I would recommend, if you're 90% spin efficient with a fastball, I would recommend maybe looking at mechanics or other aspects of your training, because that bucket's pretty cool.
So I know somewhere that we can go look at mechanics.
Yes. So, we don't really talk about this specifically, but absolutely, alluding to the mechanics module in Connect, we're going to be talking about key movement qualities and principles that we've seen in research that correlate to higher performance or higher correlation arm health. So those are things that we've kind of bucketed out across that Connect module. So I highly recommend looking there. If you're 90% spin efficiency and you're feeling like, maybe that's the limiting factor, you haven't looked at mechanics yet, like maybe that's a great place for you to start. Go to the Connect series, check out the mechanics module, looking at the strength conditioning module as well. Obviously, those are all things that you want to make sure you're programmed in building yourself out the most adequate in your training. Before we start diving deep into 5% of spin efficiency to try to get more ball velocity. So, but yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, of course. As always, slap a like on this post. Leave a question down below if you have any questions you'd like to ask KP staff, and keep an eye out for our question box on our stories.
Perfect.